Здравствуйте, мои уважаемые зрители.
Hello my dear viewers, April 16th is in our yard review, then going on the fronts. A lot of people are waiting for it. Traditionally, we start from the north direction. Here I want to note right away that the second day the Bryansk, Kursk, and Belgorod regions, as a whole, live quietly. It is very likely that the threat that Moscow announced 2 days ago is that if Kiev does not stop its raids on the relevant Russian regions, then Moscow will already decide to launch a missile attack on the decision-making centers, and, accordingly, the Ukrainian generals can stop issuing orders to strike on the Russian side. And the second day the Ukrainian armed forces are silent, it seems that the Ukrainian generals have realized that they are not being trifled with, or it was brought through the appropriate channels. I don't know what really happened there, but the fact remains. I want to immediately refute the information that I gave yesterday that its commander died at the time of the sinking of the Moskva cruiser. Judging by the data that came over the last day, he is still alive. The exact number of dead is still unknown. But I repeat what Ukrainian publics published today, that almost the entire crew of the cruiser drowned. This is all fake. I have no confirmed data. Some data was reported to me by my viewers. This is, of course, unconfirmed information, but they are talking about losses, about quite small, given the size of the ship. This is approximately what I can say and clarify on the cruiser Moskva. We return to the main front, to the main direction. This is the Donbass arc, and we will start from the Izyum direction. You know, every day it becomes more and more obvious, due to the fact that there are already quite a few regular soldiers in the Ukrainian armed forces. Many died in the first battles, or were wounded. The qualitative composition of the Ukrainian army for the battle for Donbass has noticeably weakened. If, for example, in the battle for Izyum, the troops of the 81st Airborne Assault Brigade fought essentially to the end and practically did not leave any prisoners, and they held on to literally every house. Today, Russian troops are already taking dozens of Ukrainian soldiers prisoner every day, primarily reservists, who are already fighting at the front. Their combat stability is much lower, respectively, higher than the loss of the Ukrainian army, and, accordingly, the advance of Russian troops in this direction is higher. Moreover, while Russia does not switch to large-scale, powerful offensives, nevertheless, there is a very serious processing of positions in the Barbankovo area. Something very powerful flew in there the day before. Either air bombs of at least 500 caliber, or some kind of missiles. In short, they are processing Ukrainian positions very strongly. And the tank motorized infantry unit of the Russian armed forces is slowly, but surely moving towards Slavyansk. Moreover, the intensity and importance of these battles is evidenced by the fact that Ukraine again used the remnants of its aircraft here. Several Ukrainian planes were shot down. Also, according to my information, 1 or 2 Russian planes were shot down in these last days. That is, the fierceness of the fighting is very serious. All work, aviation, artillery, tanks, infantry. Russian troops, grinding Ukrainian positions, in the literal sense of the word, grinding them with air bombardments and artillery fire, are moving forward. I think that tomorrow they will reach the border of the Donetsk region, and enter the territory of the DPR. So far, everything says that this could happen tomorrow. Moreover, the command of the Ukrainian armed forces, having assessed that the stamina of the troops has significantly decreased at the moment, is transferring more and more troops to this direction, trying to keep the Russian troops and prevent them from going into the breakthrough. That is, the battle for Donbass has in fact already begun. Russian troops began to move forward. A similar situation is unfolding today on the opposite flank of the Donbass front. This is in the Zaporozhye region, and beyond. Yuri Podolyaka, closer to Kurakovo. Throughout this front, the Ukrainian army notes the intensification of the work of Russian artillery, in some places aviation. That is, while the infantry is not moving forward, but the processing of the positions of the Ukrainian troops by artillery is growing every day. Also today, Russian correspondent spotted a large column of Russian troops, moreover, troops of the airborne troops, which was heading towards Popasnaya. That is, those successes that were achieved the day before, they are gradually developing. Russian aviation and artillery are intensively processing the positions of Ukrainian troops in this area, and a breakthrough can be expected in the near future here as well. If this breakthrough is carried out, then, immediately, the Ukrainian grouping, on the line, Lysychansk, Severodonetsk, Rubizhin will be practically cut off from the main parts in the area of Slavyansk and Kramatorsk. And, as I understand it, logically, in the coming days we should expect powerful attacks by the Russian armed forces and DPR troops in the area between Avdiivka and New York, and also between Gulyaipol and Velike Novosyoka, in order to strike from several directions at once and achieve not only the encirclement of the Ukrainian armed forces in this area, but also at the same time cut this grouping into at least 3 or even 4 parts, which will then be destroyed individually. Also, last but not least, the liberated territory by the armed forces of Russia and the DPR in the Mariupol region will play a positive role in this. Today in the second half of the day information came that the Primorsky region was finally cleared of Ukrainian units. Also yesterday there was information that parts of the Russian troops had already entered the territory of Azovstal and were fighting at this plant. That is, the last stronghold of the Ukrainian army remained, which, according to radio interception, is already holding out with the last of its strength. They are running out of ammunition, running out of provisions, water. So, from here we can expect positive news in the very near future. And so, this direction is also clear. The last direction is Kherson, Nikolaev. So far, no changes here. Russian troops slowly squeeze the enemy, trying to probe their weak points. The armed forces of Ukraine are defending themselves, digging defensive positions in the Nikolaev area. Nothing fundamentally new is happening here. In addition, the residents of Nikolaev are becoming more and more convinced every day, at the expense of Kherson, that Governor Kim once again lied. No attack on Kherson is foreseen yet. The Ukrainian army is trying to hold on to the positions they now occupy. This is roughly what is happening on the fronts now. I also want to say a few words about the general background. Today, the Ukrainian command is more and more concerned about the problem of fuels and lubricants. An increasing number of oil depots are being destroyed, and already on the front line there have been cases when equipment was simply abandoned due to the fact that the fuel ran out. Also yesterday and today there were reports that the Ukrainian armed forces, or rather, some soldiers of the Ukrainian army, in the Zaporozhye region, ran across and surrendered to the Russians. Moreover, these are reservists of the last wave, who are literally forcibly taken away by military commandants' offices, given machine guns, and thrown to the front. They can do nothing to oppose the Russian firepower, realizing that they will simply grind in the next offensive. Here are some of them. Yesterday and today were seen by defectors. They surrendered to the Russian armed forces. This is once again another confirmation of the fact that the Ukrainian armed forces, after the reservists joined them, became less combat-ready and less resistant in battle. That's about what I wanted to say today. On this topic for now. Goodbye.
На этом по этой теме пока все. До свидания.